House was a tax shelter owned by several members of the Cambric Creek elite. A shifter who lived halfway around the world, the troll couple who had started the Food Griffin chain, the heiress to the Delaquest fortune, a ubiquitous home plumbing product marketed to minotaurs and centaurs, and several others, including the evening's host. You've got to be fucking kidding me. The vast estate was on a private drive, a perfect setting for that night's celebration, or at least it would be if the line at the valet wasn't 10 cars deep. Vanessa sighed, tapping her lacquered nails against the edge of the steering wheel as she idled at the curb, watching as another sleek luxury sedan slid into the queue. 11 cars. Fuck it. She didn't want to waste any more of the evening than she already had, taking her foot off the brake as a 12th car took its place in the valet line. She would park down the road and hoof it up the hill, and she wouldn't be forced to waste any more of the party. It had become one of her favorite celebrations of the year. Ironic, as she'd only started celebrating it since she'd met him. Lupercalia. There was something primal about this night, a timidity that would weight the air even before the smells of sweat and sex permeated the ceremony, a heavy sense of expectation that seemed to curl around her, lifting her hair and licking down her bare legs. That's what happens when you get this many hard cocks in a room at once. The throng of merrymakers had spilled out onto the lawn, she saw as soon as she crested the steep incline, only needing to step through a bit of landscaping, her spiked heels sinking into the black mulch at the base of the manicured shrubbery. A scowling security guard appeared before her, the furrow between his eyebrows deepening as she produced her gilt-edged invitation with a flourish and a beatific smile. It could have been worse, she reminded herself, kicking away the remnants of the mulch that clung to the toe of her black patent leather shoe. You could have wound up crawling through the bushes. You didn't need to climb a tree or hop a fence, so we'll call this a win. As usual, no expense had been spared. The champagne was already flowing liberally, waistcoated servers gliding through the crowd, crystal flutes, hot hors d'oeuvres, and identical black masks on hand for those who had not brought their own. Vanessa wondered, as she looked around at the sea of staid cocktail attire, snagging a champagne flute from a passing tray, how many of these gossiping guests would stay as perfectly coiffed as they were now? How many of them would fall prey to the hysteria of the festivities, loosening their hair and clothing alike when the wolves began to run? She paused, wrinkling her nose at the unexpected taste of the champagne before straightening her black lace mask and entering the fray. Have you heard the news? Vanessa melted into one of the clusters of partygoers, sipping her champagne as if she had been there the whole time, raising an eyebrow at the woman on the left's excited utterance. There's news? I must have missed it. They were ecstatic to have a newcomer, this circle she'd joined, explaining and re-explaining the same gossip she had steeled herself to hear repeatedly through the night. The group around her tightened ranks, their circle closing, excited whispers piling together into an indistinct susurration until the dark-haired woman on her left leaned in again. Grayson Hemming is running for mayor. You know what that means? Changes will be coming soon, mark my words, and they're all in our favor. Vanessa had perfected an expression of artless innocence that served her well in the courtroom, and she employed it then. Running for mayor? Where? In Bridgeton? I didn't think our election was for another 2 years. Just goes to show how much I pay attention, I guess. I can't see a werewolf being elected, though, not with a human population of that size. Several of the other guests huffed in exasperation at the foolishness of her comment. Of course not Bridgeton, despite being the closest city, one of the largest in the state, where political aspiration might ripple beyond the well-insulated bubble of these privileged partygoers. She feigned ignorance as they corrected her misassumption, explaining the power dynamics in tiny, neighboring Cambric Creek. Multi-species. Werewolves and shifters started the town, didn't she know? Should be running the town, and it was a relief.